Thanks, Caroline. And yep, perfect timing. So we again just covered a hell of a lot in a very short matter of time. Look, I'll ask the panellists to turn their videos on, and they've been following the chat in the side. There's been a lot of good conversation. In fact, I might throw to Jose first, because I think, Jose, you've had a few questions already around the challenges of implementing a GLN ID system for the small farmers and small and medium-sized enterprises. So, Jose, I know, yes, there's been a bit of a conversation already. If you want to just share some of the learnings from Colombia, please.
Thank you all, because everybody is making question about the industry in Colombia. We have several issues and challenges here. The first one is connectivity. Is because many of us, even in some cities, have a poor connectivity, of a poor signal. So we're working in an offline solution with our software to make possible to make business in offline. It will not be the same, but it's a real issue here. The second issue that we were talking with several people, especially with Jen, is about the issue that the security of the information. Also, we include the new and most modern standards of security of information. The people is always afraid because they don't know it's worse to the government to have the information of the criminal to have the information, because they always say they will have more taxes. And the other one, they say that the criminal can take information that could be used for different purposes. But we have maybe important to say that we have important issues too, based on the low electricity disponibility availability in the field, and the quality of the roads. So many people say, if I have no electricity, we have no roads, why do we have to have barcodes? It's another issue that the people takes as a great barrier to this kind of digital transformations. And the very last one is that the people is very used the people is very used to use cash money. And we need to start changing that, because many of the transactions of the system, 90% of the transactions are being made in cash. So it's a kind of different world that may be happening in this part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Some of those around connectivity and security issues, we talked a little bit about in Caroline's session around privacy. But Louise, I might ask you, in terms of from a BITRA point of view, how is BITRA handling it from a national location registry in terms of how data will be aggregated and those sort of considerations?
Thanks, Dave. So the location registry won't be supported on the Department of Infrastructure's network. Nonetheless, we are keen to, over time, do some insights in the National Freight Data Hub using the data in an aggregated sense. We can do something on restaurant locations or the location of distribution centres, et cetera, et cetera. In a government sense, I think you touched earlier on the Digital Transformation Agency. There are a whole suite of kind of IT, cloud-based storage and that sort of thing that are all meet the kind of highest security standards. So we're definitely conscious of meeting those. And then there is a lot of work going on in the data space across the Australian government. So I can think, for example, in my own department, there's a data strategy, and that covers the kind of full data life cycle and covers off, data handling and, privacy considerations and all that sort of thing. And we work very closely with the Office of the National Data Commissioner to make sure we're kind of, in best practice on all of those things.
Good, thank you. I might throw now to Ryan. And from your perspective, Ryan, how did the GS1 GLNs and other ID keys provide harmonisation across both states and territories, and as well as globally?
Thanks, David. Just before I answer that question too, I might just quickly touch on the previous one. So I think there's a lot of parallels in the health sector as well. So we have situations where we have nurses moving out into the community and delivering care with patients in their homes. And even in a place as small as the ACT, we still have connectivity black spots and black holes. So we are required to use technology that can capture the barcode scanning activities and then synchronize those once they do become back on a connected network or back to their home clinic, wherever they're working from. So I think there's opportunities for us to learn across industry here as well. But specifically related to the question around harmonisation, I think with the check-in app example that I've talked through today, the global location numbers for unique contact tracing of locations in each jurisdiction provide a real benefit out of the box, but it's not possible for the locations to be conflicting across the states or territories and boundaries, and the community benefits really from that. No matter what state or territory app they have installed, they can use it in any state or territory that adopts the standards, and enabling contact tracers to unambiguously link to locations for COVID positive cases that have attended locations and the possible individuals that have also attended those locations. So I think when we talk around harmonisation and benefits, we're really looking at that ability to use multiple solutions that leverage the same standards in multiple places. Right at the moment, we're in the process of creating some bespoke interfaces for the other states and territories that aren't supporting the GS1 standards, and we're going to shoehorn that in because we really want to give the consumers the best experience possible. But that's really where the benefit stops there. So as we open up the borders and resume interstate and international travel, harmonisation of our exposure sites globally would really be a game changer in how we manage the risk of cross-border travel.
Thank you. And did you want to reflect on that and maybe build on that in terms of what still can be done to improve traceability and visibility in healthcare?
Yeah, absolutely. Fair points that Ryan made, but also what we're looking at is it's coming up with some demonstrating the standards that we have, that GS1 already have. It's adopting in many across the jurisdictions as well. So working closely with other health jurisdictions to have also the standards. And so it makes it easier for suppliers to conform with, and it then kind of enables better traceability and visibility of the products. Once we're clear on what the standards are and how we can kind of use the application identifiers within our supply chain, it makes it easy for us to get that interoperability. And it's just the one time we create those identifiers, and then we're removing the duplications. And it's just, you don't have to go in and recreating things. That's one of the biggest benefits, and also that's something that we got to demonstrate to suppliers, and also providing those case studies that it can be completed and that these are the benefits it shows. And I guess from other health, like Ryan was mentioning, how they've been able to track. It's the same concept for all facilities and all other healthcare providers. It's the same thing, using this standard identifiers, and we get those interoperabilities with the suppliers that trade with everyone. It's a one time get it right.
Yep, great, thank you. There's been some conversations in the chat side around, and I think Peter Carter, there was some discussion around ag and vet chemicals. I haven't got that quite right, but I think what's a really interesting discussion, and it plays back into Jose's presentation, where one of the things that Jose touched on was around not only the farmers but the suppliers and the transport. And in your slides, Caroline, I saw great similarities to what we saw in a couple of sessions a couple of months back around the dairy industry guidelines. And one of the things I think that this sort of work highlights is where we can share learnings is around that we can not only track how things are moving from plant through to consumer, from the farm to the consumer, but equally track what chemicals and other inputs are being used at a farm or at a processing plant. I suppose in that sort of, and Anahan touched on it, and I might open it up to the whole panel about not only in terms of their own experiences around how GLNs can provide better interoperability, but equally just to pick up on and some of the things that they've picked up on others' presentations today. So, Caroline, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, so some big topics raised there. And I think today we've really focused on global location number, which is often which is obviously around the property location. But there are obviously many other GS1 standards which kind of come into play in this space. And some of the issues that you mentioned there around treatments that might be on plants or medications that might have been given to animals, those types of things where kind of certification comes into play. And I think we probably could have a whole nother NGTAG session all about certification, but I think this is actually a really vital area for government to be considering, because having that linkage in standards between place, product and certification, and the ability for a certificate to attach itself to something which becomes aggregated and then split and then distributed, but remain valid and remain kind of true, is really important. And I think we've had a few conversations here where we've touched on certification in healthcare, and also that would apply to the agricultural space as well. So it's all about bringing different standards together and linking them all together within traceability systems.
Thank you. Louise, you know, the old saying, if you build it, they will come. Is that, sorry, I love that movie. Is that something that you're starting to see across both federal and state, of the awareness of the National Location Registry gets out there?
Yeah, I think that's right. Thanks, David. And I know our colleagues in the Department of Agriculture, Water and the Environment are doing great work around the traceability side of things. It's sort of analogous in the transport space. Like while we're doing less in the traceability space, in my mind, it's very complementary. And, you know, we've already seen with the location registry other examples. Now, again, it's not in the traceability space, but say, for example, you know, having more information about the location of rest stops. We've seen a lot of interest in that in recent times. And then, you know, talking with Bonnie and Co and others in the industry panel, you know, a lot of interest in that area. So I think, you know, anything we can do in this data standard space, and the location registry is a good start, and we may well be able to keep adding to it, is a real bonus. And we're sort of in the Freight Data Hub trying to do other bits in the standard space as well. It might shock people to hear that, you know, we might be a federation, but our states and territories collect data in all different ways in the transport sector. So we'll try and make small inroads on that as well as we go.
Thank you. Just mindful of time, and what I might do, and I'm also mindful of the late hour in Colombia, and again, many thanks to Jose. But Jose, if I could impose on you one last time, if possible, it would be, you know, interesting to hear your thoughts and insights in terms of what you've heard of some of our journey here in Australia, and any words of counsel or advice that you might want to share with us, please.
No, I think that we have a mix of knowledge that can be shared in different issues. It was very interesting to me about the National Location Registry. There are differences in our countries, especially because of the sizes of the plantations. Our plantations used to be small, so we need a different kind of agriculture. Another issue to me is that we have these slopes, and it makes a different logistical challenges. But in general, I think that associativity could be a general and interesting work to do. I said about sister nations in the issue of the old farmers is a kind of population that must be addressed in a very innovative way, because they must in some way be part of this transformation. They have been doing for years and will be doing for years. So we must work hard to make inclusive the system for them. And finally, from Colombia to there, I think that the produces of the fields are pretty different, but about cereals we can share a lot of knowledge too. And vegetables are our strong production, and fruits. Of course, coffee, but there is a mix of technologies that we can share.
And look forward to it, and look forward to future opportunities.